part 3 of a 4-part series on maturing your security operations center. In this tech talk, we'll be focusing on the process part of this assessment and what it is really all about. The last session will focus on the technology or data section of the assessment. So I'm Paul Pelletier, and I'll be your host for this series. I've been here at Splunk for nearly 4 years now, and I'm a global security architect in professional services. I've been in InfoSec for 20 years, and I've done everything from working at a small hometown bank, where I first got the security bug, to owning my own MSSP, to working at some of the largest consulting firms in the world, to being here at Splunk. I built and ran world-class SOCs across the globe for multiple Fortune 10, 50, 500 companies. Security maturity has always been a passion of mine, which is why I've come up with this Splunk Security Maturity Methodology, or S2M2. So what is this S2M2 we speak of? Let's get into it. So a quick recap. What we'll cover today will be a quick recap of what the S2M2 is, just in case you missed it the last 2 sessions. And we'll go again high level, what's the structure of S2M2, and then we'll deep dive into the process part, and then we'll talk about outcomes, like as in what you will get as a result of this. So again, this is not just another vendor maturity thing. This is the Splunk Security Maturity Methodology, or S2M2. This is a combination of industry standards and frameworks that help us to objectively measure your security program maturity and define a prescriptive path forward for a more mature security program using our platform with that combination of people, process, and technology across the entire Splunk security ecosystem. This is the blueprint for how to build a SOC with Splunk. This is the Splunk way of doing security. This is security to everything. It's all about increasing your time to value and fully operationalizing your investment in the platform. It's that guided journey with Splunk as your trusted advisor to help you progress up the maturity curve. It's the interlock between the pre- and post-sales teams here at Splunk so that we provide you with that unified customer experience. It's also that meta framework, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. And with Splunk as your security to everything platform, this is how we bring it all together using S2M2 and as a methodology to increase your time to value and identify where your gaps are and how we can help you as an organization to address those things and truly partner together. S2M2 is a meta framework, which I mentioned just a minute ago. It encompasses all of the major security and compliance standards. So regardless of which security framework you choose to align against, whether it's NIST or ISO 27000X or COBIT, ISA 62443, etc., or whatever compliance framework is applicable to you, whether that's PCI or HIPAA or GLBA or GDPR or SOCs, well, whatever detection framework you choose, whether that's MITRE or KillChain, or your response framework of choice, whether that's ADS, React, etc. We don't care. That's the whole point. It can accommodate all of these and ensure that you have the right monitoring controls in place, the right types of detections, and along with the right type of content. At Splunk, we believe every security program should be a great program. But to get to that state, we need to understand where you are first, why you're there, and where you want to be. That's what S2M2 is all about. We've worked with thousands of customers, large and small, on their journey, taking them from a purely reactive state, if you like over here on the left, which is often focused on legacy security concepts like parametric defense and zero risk attempt, and trying to figure out what's the reason behind that focus. So we've seen programs built solely for compliance purposes as well. We've seen dozens of programs that were deemed a cost center to the org and not an enabler of the business. With S2M2, we look to understand the original plan, and then we map that to what we have today. What's the desired future state look like? What are we really trying to monitor? Why? What are we alerting on? Why? Are these alerts actually valuable? Do we have enough people? Do our people have the right skill sets? What does the process and procedure around incident response actually look like? Are we going to prioritize all our activity based on measuring and reducing risk? What are the right applications to monitor? What does alerting and automation need to actually look like in order to achieve your end goals? And ultimately, what does that desired future state look like? And how do we prioritize our activities around reducing and measuring risk, and what are the right things to monitor? What alerts and automation do actually need to look like in order to get to that desired future state? So we've laid this out into 4 primary sections and broken each major section into subcategories. The whole idea is that this is very holistic in terms of security operations and not just 100% focused on just the SOC. Although that's a big part of S2M2, but SOC is just a small part of security operations. So then we want to take the results from this exercise, feed them into your customer success plans along with your customer success manager, and provide you with your maturity measurement and what that roadmap going forward with Splunk as your security platform truly looks like. All the while really building that partnership between you, the customer, and us as Splunk. So let's talk some more about the structure of this entire exercise and kind of how it's designed to work. So initially, who do we need in these conversations, right? The initial 30 to 45 minutes, we really want to have that, the CISO level kind of person, senior level management, to really articulate their strategy, their goals, their business needs in terms of aligning the platform with what's going to ultimately make you as an organization successful with Splunk, right? And then going forward, the rest of the approximately 3 to 3.5 hours of time that we'll spend will be with that SOC manager, director level type person, and then some senior type analyst, whether that's your SOC analyst, threat analyst, incident responder, or any other relevant staff as well, right? And so we typically, and again, this is a 4-hour exercise. There's about 120 different questions altogether. So it is a time commitment, but this is all about us working with you to help you build the security operations team of your dream, if you will, or the SOC of your dream, right? And so we want to start off and make sure that we have the right audience available. We'll send out the initial kind of welcome email to schedule the session. We'll go through the whole set of questions with you and with our team as well. And then we come back and we present the results to give you what your maturity ranking is, what the gaps are, and then we can talk more in terms of what are some suggested remediations as well. So this is kind of a 4-step process that, like I already said, roughly takes about 4 hours. And it is a Q&A type process where we interview the various players, we understand your capabilities and your gaps, and then we give you that maturity score. We come up with the program kind of roadmap, if you will, going forward in terms of maturity. And then, we integrate this with your customer success plans so that it's, integral into everything that we do as a team, working with you as the customer to build value, to build the relationship between us. And then again, it's a whole process, right? So it's this continuous iteration where we measure the progress and where we need to tweak kind of as the program continues to improve. So let's talk quickly about what to expect in terms of the different sections. So the first section is the SOC profile. Where again, this is where we really create that type of executive alignment, sponsorship in terms of aligning the platform to what you're trying to achieve as a business, right? Then the next section is the people section, and this is where we start to get more into like we covered on last week's section in terms of what types of staffing and roles do you have, and what types of training do you have specific to those roles, and then what types of capabilities, like, do they know certain scripting languages or etc., right? And then process. This is going to be the section that we're really going to break down today. And there's 5 key subcategories here. I'm not going to go into each one of these because I'll go into these in a couple slides here in just a minute. But the whole idea is to identify, what types of critical SOC processes you have, in terms of your capabilities with these different aspects, how mature you actually are, what types of best practices you're actually employing. Are you doing any kind of reporting and measuring the effectiveness of the SOC type stuff? And then how are you using risk as part of everything that you do within security operations? And then the last section is the technology or the data portion, which is where we really get down into talking about what types of logs do you have available, and which in turn can you turn into what types of use cases you can do. You can use with the logs, with the data that you have available. And then then the next section is the security reference data, and we're going to get more into this section and really break it down on the next Tech Talk session of this. But this is where we talk about all the things that really make all the magic happen within enterprise security. A lot of this stuff is really basic cyber hygiene, things that you should know about yourself, right? But at the same time, they're tedious, and it's not always easy to get these types of information. And then in terms of contextualization, so really, what are you doing with your alerting? How are you consuming those alerts? And where are they coming from? That's really what this last part is about. And then we'll, obviously give you your maturity ranking, identify where the gaps are, and, hopefully have a broader conversation in terms of how we can actually help you achieve these things. So let's get into the process part. This is what we're here for today. Let's take a deep dive into what the whole process section really is. So again, there's 5 kind of subsections in here, right? But the primary mission of security operations is kind of threefold, right? We want to prevent, protect, and detect. That's really what we're here for, security operations. These 3 dimensions, how do we affect all these 3 dimensions with something like S2M2, right? We have to build an effective set of processes and workflows into the platform to enable each of these pillars within security operations. We have to utilize a set of best practices that have been established, from our team of security practitioners here at Splunk. And we need the right kind and type of reporting. We have to make sure that risk is central to everything that we do within security operations. So that's the whole reason that process is important to us, and when we're talking about security maturity. So again, this is just to quickly recap what we just kind of reiterated just a second ago. Again, this is 5 subcategories within process, 52 total questions in this area. I would expect to spend somewhere around an hour almost in just this section, because there are a lot of questions, and it does kind of tend to spur other conversations at the same time, right? But these are all things, and keep in mind that we're not here just to audit your processes. We want to know how you're doing these things with Splunk. How are you actually operationalizing all of these things with Splunk as your security platform? How are you getting the most value out of your investment in Splunk using this as a methodology? That's what this is all about. And in terms of the critical SOC process, why is that important? Why do we care about these, right? I mean, this is really all about helping you to make decisions faster. If you're familiar with the OODA loop or the Observe, Orient, Decide, Act, this was something that was developed by Colonel John Boyd, who was a fighter pilot back in the Korean War. And it was really meant to provide some type of iterative feedback model in terms of like, how do they get better, right? And that's what process is all about, because without processes, you can get stuck and not know where to go or what to do next. The entire reason for process within security operations is to govern workflow. We need these established SOC processes, and because it's all about helping you advance through the loop faster to help you make better, higher quality decisions faster, more efficiently. And this part of the assessment focuses on just that. So how, in terms of how are you actually doing enterprise log collection or case management or content lifecycle management, etc. It's all about helping to define these things ahead of time instead of trying to do them all in flight. So in terms of the security program section, this is essentially all about operational capabilities. This is something, you should see these as something that are kind of acquired in an evolutionary type of fashion over time. This is meant to illustrate how capabilities are added through that combination of people, process, and technology. It can be something like adding fraud detection or insider threat capabilities, but then even more than that, how are you actually doing these things with the platform? How are you executing this? What use cases and data sources do you have to support these capabilities? How are you capturing these things inside of the platform? That's what this entire section is really trying to get at. And then in terms of best practices, S2M2 is really made to provide you with that unified vision for security and make it a reality by providing you that platform for a seamless customer experience across all of security operations. And this is really focused on doing all of these activities with Splunk as your security operations platform, based on the collective experience of our security practitioners and how you should perform security logging and monitoring, detection and investigation, anomaly detection, reporting and metrics, orchestration and automation, response, machine learning and artificial intelligence for security data, as well as security data analytics. So let's talk about reporting. Why is this important? This is super critical to what we do within security operations. This is probably one of the most important categories of this assessment, metrics. If you can't demonstrate to leadership how effective the security operations team is doing its job, then it will continue to be viewed as just another cost center. But if we turn it around and demonstrate all the value that SecOps has brought to the entire organization by prioritizing threats and effectively and efficiently detecting and preventing attacks, then we have a real story to tell. Now we can start to show how SecOps has moved the needle in your organization, and not only why it's necessary, but that we're actively and constantly engaged with threat actors and protecting the company and its brands. So in terms of attribution and risk, we see all these stats, all these things in the news every single day. There's more and more threats that emerge, whether it's a known vulnerability that wasn't patched for whatever reason, or some new ODay, some new ransomware, or even some old ransomware that just resurfaced. But the fact is that breaches are happening more and more, and as an industry, we're struggling to keep up. There's a multitude of reasons of why this is happening, but in order to get better, we have to make risk central to everything that we do within security operations. We have to make the threat analyst, the SOC analyst, whoever analyst job easier by providing them everything they need right in front of them in one place to quickly and efficiently make decisions when a security event occurs. So in terms of outcomes, let's talk about this. What should you actually expect from all of this? So again, the difference between S2M2 and some other vendor generic maturity assessment is that we're laying out the foundation of how to make you successful in building a security operations center or security operations using Splunk as your technology suite. We're truly showing you how and what is required to fully operationalize Splunk and get the most out of our entire security suite of products. These high-level recommendations that we provide are really meant to be a starting point for your journey to becoming more mature. So if you really want to deep dive into what's truly required and have us take you on a more curated security journey, then let us tell you about our security and maturity roadmap, where our professional services team can assist in accomplishing your goals faster and realizing value even more quickly. And this is all provided as part of the initial assessment. In terms of the maturity roadmap, this is great, but how do we actually take action on all these findings? This is where we get down into the nitty-gritty. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where actioning is important and the roadmap picks up. The roadmap is also a great way for you to utilize an assigned expert. This is a key tool for you as a customer in order to be successful. This tells you every single task that you would need to do in order to move up the ladder from maturity level 1 all the way through maturity level 4. It's very prescriptive in the way that it helps identify every single thing that you would need to do going forward. So let's wrap up here quickly and we'll take some questions. The whole thing is that S2M2 is here, and it is a new lens on security maturity with people, process, and technology. We want to work together with you to make your security operation team better and more efficient. Again, this is a journey. It's about the 4 maturity levels. Our job is to help you figure out where you land, and then what do we need to do to help you get up that maturity curve. And it's all about the progress. Progress tied to outcomes means value. We want to help you get the most value out of your investment with our software. So let's schedule a workshop and get this thing going. And I appreciate your time. And here's the legal stuff, the forward-looking statement. And again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to me. And I hope that you found this helpful. And if you have any additional questions or feedback, please contact me. Again, Paul Pelletier. It's pretty easy email address, p2@splunk.com. Or if you're a partner and you're on Slack, you can go to s2m2-help or contact any member of our security practice. Again, thank you very much. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join us on the next session in a week or so for the last and final part of this where we talk about the technology piece. Thank you.